All right, peace, world. Jump into some bite down boxing. Good morning. It's gonna be a short one, unless somebody hollers at me to talk about whatever. A couple big things this week. I did kind of break my code and spoke on a few things this week in some earlier videos, some midweek updates. So I really don't have to get into all of that. You know, Bud made some headlines this week. Terrence Crawford. I thought it was an interesting move by the WBC in the super flyweight division by elevating Juan Francisco Estrada to franchise champion, thereby taking care of his issue with a mandatory against Sarissakes or Rungvisai, being able to avoid that because it's not as lucrative a fight as a trilogy with Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. So I thought that was neat how they fixed that. What else was out there? There were some scheduled announcements Thursday night on the Ring City USA card. I can't, they're not on BoxRec yet, but Charles Conwell will be facing Ivan Golub in the main event on a show. I want to say that's April 8th, I believe, is the date of that one. They don't have a location for it yet. And then also on the heavyweight side, a couple of promising American heavyweights in Stephen Shaw, Big Shot Stephen Shaw, and Jermaine Franklin out of the Mitten State. Those two brothers will be fighting. I can't remember if that's going to be a main event. It should be, in my opinion, on a Ring City USA card. But I don't know. It could pop up as the co-main or something to the Conwell Golub fight. I got some requests out there to talk to somebody at Ring City USA. I'm kind of a big fan of what they're doing over there. I thought the action that we saw the last 3 shows down in Puerto Rico, I thought all of that was done really well. And I'm a fan of midweek boxing, weeknight boxing. This week's show, not the same names. You know, obviously in the previous episode or previous broadcast, you know, they had a couple of former world champions, or at least champions, in Alberto Machado and Angel Acosta. They had them on the show in some exciting fights, and so that was pretty dope. This week was headlined by 7 division champion Amanda Serrano against Daniela Bermudez. I already did the recap video of that, I think Thursday night after the card. I think I was writing an article, waiting for some pictures, waiting for some photos. And I was like, let me jump on and recap that. And I talked to that. Then the Baez twins were on there. One of them took a L, a bad L, to a cat named Carlos Caraballo. I want to see more of him. We'll see how, and we'll see, that's the that's the objective with Ring City USA, is for some of these guys to to fight meaningful fights on that platform, and then be able to move on to the other stuff, the bigger platforms. Another thing that happened this week, they had the Jerron Boots Ennis press conference with Sergey Lipinets. I was able to call into that and actually get a couple of questions in. I'll be honest with you, man. Keeping it a buck, it's very it's kind of challenging to participate in those in a matchup like that, because you know what Sergey Lipinets is there for. You know what his purpose is, and you don't want to be disrespectful to this man, because a lot of people, a lot of these cats won't fight Ennis, and Lipinets can't give away whatever his game plan is, and can't. You know what I'm saying? Some of these press conferences, you got to dance around some things. And then when you get to talk to when you get to asking a question to Boots, it's like, my main interest is what's next for you, because I no disrespect, but I am assuming that you're gonna be moving on beyond Sergey Lipinets. But Sergey Lipinets serves a very important purpose in the development and the grooming of a Jaron Ennis. I did get a chance to ask Stephen Espinosa a question, because the question really becomes, at welterweight, can you get this young man a title shot? And that's kind of one of my questions to Jaron Ennis. I think him and his dad blew it off because they don't want to jump ahead of things either. They can't control those things. But it's like, we see the big money fight that we think is big money. Some people will tell you it's bigger money than what it actually is. But we see the big fight can't get done between two older champions, one of them being unified in Errol Spence. But we see that fight can't get done. How in the hell how does your business team get you a fight against either one of those guys, when they can easily write you off as, what does Jaron Ennis bring to the table? What fan base does he have? Who has he beaten? This same bullshit that they run with to hold up anything interesting that we would really like to see. My money is on neither one of those guys ever face Jaron Ennis. Not to say that anybody is afraid of him, but guy win 22 fights, 25 fights, they become businessmen, and they don't do anything unless they really need to do it. So that was kind of one of my questions to Jaron Ennis. But in Sergey Lipinets, he was just he kind of, he's a no-nonsense guy. He just was like, I took the fight. I'm a fighter. Yes, Ennis is very promising and yada, yada, yada. And the whole world is upbeat about him. And yeah, I didn't look the greatest against Custio Clayton the last time out, but he said he thought he won 8 out of the 12 rounds. He said one thing that held him up was his opponent changed a number of times, and by the time he got to Clayton, he'd been in camp forever, and he said he had a hamstring injury. But he just said, the kid is he's just a fighter. He has 2 hands just like me, and we'll go in there and figure it out. I think he gets beat up pretty badly. And it's crazy because Lipinets is a former world champion at 140 pounds. And then and we he's kind of being looked at as the more experienced fighter. But Boots actually has 24, 26 wins now. And Lipinets is like 16, 1-1 or something. But I guess on the world level, on the world class level or whatever, being with Lipinets being in there against Mikey Garcia, couple other guys and whatnot, Clayton, whoever else. I mean, he's regarded as the more experienced guy. He looked that way in the video, just like that. Like, whatever. What's good, J Finn, man? What's good, bro? Yeah, man. I was kind of like I said, man, you call into some of these press conferences sometimes, and you try to be respectful of the fighters, the teams, the moments. And you just try to read what it is and get in some kind of question that you don't look like an idiot. But that was definitely my interest in Jaron Ennis, is like, He also, I had a chance to, Jay Finn. I talked to him briefly when we were up in Flint for the Claressa Shields fight that got canceled. What was that? October 2019, I think. And I was just like, he told me then that he could go to 140. And I don't know. I'm just like, bro, can you don't want to reconsider that? But I mean, it's no easier path into anything at 140 because the two belts or the four belts are with two individuals who are at top rank. So the only interest there would be if once those guys handle their business in May, do they does the winner relinquish those belts and then they're up free to grab? But that's other stuff to talk about. The only thing that I did, the other question I think that I got into the Ennis to Team Ennis was, do you feel like you have to do anything to compete with the young boy from last week, Virgil Ortiz? And like I said, shout out to Maurice Hooker and to Sergey Lipinets, because while we make fun of these guys and chastise them and laugh at them and humiliate them and crack all the jokes and everything, both of them are serving very important roles in the development of who we see move into the move on to the next level and move on to bigger and better things. So we and Maurice Hooker had no chance. I mean, his margin for error to win that fight last week was minimal. I don't care if you think Virgil Ortiz is the slow Mexican, the squared up, flat-footed man. I don't care what the hell you think. If you really were being honest with yourself, he had to fight a damn near perfect fight and do something that he'd never done before in the ring to win that fight. But he went in there, he got beat up, he landed his shots, and it was an entertaining fight. Shout out to to the crowd for showing up and supporting their guy and making it be a very interesting night, a very entertaining, a very electric night. And, I think the action of the fight delivered. Unfortunately, it didn't conclude with, a knockout. Hooker had the hand injury. And so, that ended up shutting the fight down. But I think a stoppage was imminent anyway. But I asked Ennis, any thoughts on, because that's the comparison. You see some people out here talking about Ennis needs to face Virgil Ortiz. It's like, obviously you don't promote any fighters or manage any fighters because that makes absolutely no sense. But that's going to be the thing. It's kind of a race to the top for those two to see who can grab a belt first. And maybe in 2022, at the end of 2022, 2023, if both of those guys are successful in becoming champions or, whatever, I don't know how things work out in that division, but if it happens, maybe in the future, we could see those two in the ring. Bozy Ennis gave me that disrespectful, that dismissive hand wave to let me know, they don't think that highly of Ortiz. And like I was disrespecting them for asking the question. I didn't take it personal. But Ennis says something kind of politically correct or diplomatic and just said, he doesn't really worry about anybody else in the division. He just focused on getting himself a title or a title opportunity and doing his thing. But he knows. And it's not like he can't go. Everything that he said, his objective with the fight and beating Lipinets, it all falls in line with him maintaining his momentum in the division and looking great and continuing to build, his draw and so on and so forth. So, I mean, he's competing, but just not really acknowledging Ortiz, which, I would expect that to happen. But other than that, what else happened this week? Talked about the super flyweight situation. Was there anything else I wanted to hit on? That was about it. good action. You know, I think Top Rank has a pretty good lineup of fights every Saturday in April, I want to say. I'm really interested. I think that's the April 10th fight in Oklahoma, Osage Casino or something. But that's the one that's headlined by Joe Smith and Maxim Vlasov. I want to say that's what WBO light heavyweight title fight or something. Might be vacant right now. But on there we have Jared Anderson. We got a couple of heavyweights on there. I believe F.A. Ajagba is on there. I should pull that up real quick. I just don't want to open another tab. But Albert Bell out of Toledo, Ohio is on that card. What is he? Super featherweight, I believe. Who else is on there? It was another. Duke Reagan out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He's also on that card. I think he's at what 2-0, 3-0 or something. April 24th. I feel like it may not be the superstar or the big marquee name on some of these cards, but I think the depth of the cards are pretty solid. That April 24th show with Emmanuel Navarrete and Christopher Diaz, it's a ton of youngsters on that card. Josue Vargas. Sonny Canto, another heavyweight, is also on that April 10th card, I believe, if he actually makes it into the ring. He was scheduled to fight a month and a half ago or something or whatever, and his fight never materialized on fight night. But yeah, it's a lot of Edgar Berlanga is in the co-main event that night against Damon Nicholson. Like I said, Jose Vargas is on there. Somebody else that I wanted to see on there. But like I said, it's just a lot of talent. If you like watching the development of some of these different guys, and I think that's been one good thing about Top Rank is if you've been watching it as a series, you know, some of these guys have been showing up every 2 or 3rd show and kind of taking some kind of developmental step in their career. And that's kind of been a way to start seeing who might break out and actually become somebody. And I think a dude like Josue Vargas is, I think he's a pretty good watch, actually. And then next week, we had a Dubai fight with Jamel Herring and Carl Frampton. The youngster Keyshawn Davis is on that card. Let me pull some of this stuff up, see what the hell I'm even rambling about. What did I want to see? Sorry about this. I had something else open. But yeah, I think it's a pretty nice run of cards for them. Of course, no results found. Anyway, we'll get back to that in a minute. Let me get into yesterday's action and get ready to get on off of here. Like I said, if anybody wants to call in and talk about any of this or give your view on any of it or what you're looking for in April or whatever, let me know. I'll throw the number up on the screen and you can get in and do your thing. The Bite Down Boxing fighter of the weekend is definitely Dillian Whyte. No surprise there. And that just runs into recapping the card. Let me start with actually let me build up to it a little bit. Add some I don't know, whatever. I wasn't all that interested in this card, to be honest with you. It was just something to watch. I figured somebody was getting knocked the hell out in the main event. Definitely wanted to see what Fabio Wardley, what his next look was against Eric Molina, a veteran out of Texas. And then the other selling point on here was young Campbell Haddon, the son of Ricky Haddon, was on the card. So let's start with him. I missed his fight, actually. I was coming back from running an errand and missed his fight. Just saw the post-fight interview, some of the highlights from it. He stopped the guy. Damn, he was 0-10 coming into the fight, Jesus Ruiz. But, Haddon is 20 years old, limited amateur career or no amateur career. Only started fighting 4 or 5 years ago. Completely understand that. I didn't see what all the hubbub was about in terms of breaking the man's fight, the youngster's fight down and saying what he is or what he isn't. I know it's like they're gonna use it against him that he has the last name that he has. And so he's being put on some platform that maybe he shouldn't be on. Like everything in boxing is about what kind of a draw. What do you bring to the table as a draw? So how do we get mad? How do we have any issue with the young man for having the last name that he has and he gets to fight on this card? I mean, it wasn't like they put him in here against I mean, the dude has to cut his teeth somehow and gain experience under the lights, somehow. So it's a family thing and a hookup between Haddon and Eddie Hearn, and the dude has an opportunity. Eddie Hearn, I thought, was pretty honest in, hey, this could be a 4 or 5 year development thing. We put this dude on these cards. He brings in who he brings in. He's like, the kid is doing interviews all week long. Not many prospects or newcomers. They don't talk to anybody. Nobody cares to talk about any of them. But this kid was doing all those types of duties all week. Again, the highlights that I saw, I don't even need to say what he is and what he isn't. He's learning how to fight. He's learning how to, he took some shots. Got hit without the headgear, had to manage his emotions, his nerves and all of that type of stuff. You actually got to stand in there and fight another person who, despite this man being 0-10, he knows how to fight. I was excited for that Haddon fight. First fight has potential. Would like to see him once he settled down and dial in more. Yeah, that's all, man. I think it's interesting. We saw Fernando Vargas's son 2 weeks ago on Ring City, USA. It's just sometimes it's interesting just to see how these kids look physically, how they look physically different from their fathers. I think that was Fernando Vargas Jr., I want to say. But what? He's southpaw, I think. And then he's already up at 160 pounds or I don't think he was at 168, but he was like 5'10 or 5'11 or something. His dad was a couple of divisions south of that. He wasn't a southpaw. It's things like that I kind of look at. I know me, myself, I'm like 5 inches taller than my dad, thankfully. No disrespect to Pops, but 5'3", 5'2" wasn't a good look for what I was trying to do. So I got a few inches in height that my dad didn't get. And that's just, let these dudes figure this thing out. I thought everybody handled the situation really well and kept it professional. I thought, just looking at Ricky Haddon, looking at his son, the uncle or whoever, who's helping to train him. I thought they were all very honest and in their assessments and whatnot. And, they take it one step at a time. Moving on. I wanted to see this Chris Congo cat who lost a unanimous decision to Michael McKinson. I missed that fight as well. But Congo, I thought he could fight a little bit the last time I saw him. I'm pretty sure he got a knockout in a pretty entertaining fight and was talking like he was getting ready to break through and really do some stuff internationally. And then to see him get beat by this Michael McKinson, who I'm not even familiar with. I might go back and watch that fight. I just thought Congo could box a little bit and was going to keep an eye on him. Like I told you before, one of the benefits, in my opinion, with DAZN is you get a chance to check out some of these international fighters, and you either like them or you don't, and you can disregard them or ignore them. You can tune in for the main event only. You can do whatever you want to do. I just try to keep an eye on whoever jumps off the screen sometimes. And I thought he had a pretty entertaining fight last time. So to see him catch an L, his first loss, after what he was talking in the last fight, it just caught my eye a little bit. Super welterweight Ted Cheeseman. He recaptured, I believe, the British super welterweight title. I don't know if Ted Cheeseman would look good against Truck Simpson, who might be up at 160 now. Or hell, I don't know if he looked decent against the young boy Spencer, Joey Spencer. I mean, I don't really know what to make of Ted Cheeseman. I just know he's in wars usually. His face gets he's kind of fair, very pale or whatever. Gets I think he's redheaded too, so he gets lumped up a little bit. He looks like a barroom brawler at times. He's got a lot of heart. I understand what he means in that scene in in the UK and whatnot. I think it'd be a good fight if they put him in there with Anthony Fowler. I think they mentioned that. I think that would be a pretty entertaining fight to watch. But Cheeseman, like I said, I don't know how he fits in internationally, and I don't even know if he, steps up to that level. He's already 16 or 17, 2-1. He stopped this James Metcalf cat who was 21-0 coming into the fight. It went to the 11th round. It was a lot of back and forth. It was it was an exciting knockout sequence. He had Metcalf on roller skates maybe 3 or 4 rounds earlier. Like I said, they were dropping some bombs on one another, and it was a pretty entertaining fight. But like I said, when you try to connect the dots to see, can this dude do anything outside of the UK? I don't know if that can happen for Cheeseman. But again, man, he goes in there, takes his lumps. He participates on these cards, shows up to fight, and it is what it is. He gets the victory, like I said, 11th round stoppage. Metcalf was completely out of it. I think it was a big left hand that a left hook that finished him off. And I was kind of shocked. The refereeing situation in the UK, some of these fights is always a little is an adventure. And I don't know why the dude waited to count. And then as soon as Metcalf gets up off the mat, then he just waves it off and helps the man walk over to the corner. Like, I don't know why you even went through all of that and didn't just let the medical people get to the man. I mean, there was no way in the world he could have finished that fight, but I don't know. Maybe that was the dude's first time doing a 10 count or something. I don't know. Fabio Wardley. I think very limited amateur career. The one thing that kind of pissed me off a little bit, I don't understand why the one commentator had to speak on it like 4 or 5 times about Wardley's him being articulate. I don't know what the hell that was about. He's so well spoken. I mean, you can hit on it one time, or say a dude is a good communicator, or I like how dude presents himself, or you can throw it out there as part of another statement or your overall assessment of the guy as you introduce him the first time. But this cat like mentioned it like 5 times, like his ability to speak was more impressive than anything that he offers as a fighter. I mean, like, we're only going to watch him fight because he speaks so well. And I'm just, that shit kind of pissed me off a little bit. But that, that's neither here nor there. I'm just like, bro, like, I mean, damn, I won't go there. But anyway, Molina, it took him a couple of rounds to really start engaging with Molina. I did put a write-up of this one up on bitedownboxing.com. I'd appreciate you go over there and check that out. I need those clicks. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a whole lot to say. I mean, he seemed to be a little hesitant. Molina talked some stuff going into the fight about he didn't see anything special with Wardley, and that out of all of the young fighters in the world, if he was going to face any of them, that Wardley, because as basic as his game is, he said he would want to see him. And, I thought Molina started off a little slow, but he's a veteran. So I'm assuming that he was assessing what Wardley was able to do. The one thing that I thought was a little different for Wardley was I thought he showed a little bit more movement, a little bit more agility. And one of my comments that I was texting to a partner of mine who watches a lot of boxing, actually has a boxing podcast himself. But one thing that I mentioned was I don't think a lot of these brothers from England, I don't think they play basketball. And I think it hinders a lot of their agility and the footwork and just kind of moving fluidly and even, you know, with brothers in the US playing football, these edge rushers, these linebackers opening their hips and all of that different all of that different technical athletic shit. I don't think a lot of these bigger individuals, these heavyweights, they just don't seem to be great movers, in my opinion. And I just think that is going to come into play, you know, when they do get to the world class level and you're somewhat stiff and robotic, and you know, that becomes a you know, something that works against you. But Wardley shows some, you know, that he can move a little bit, and I believe his background is like rugby or something, maybe regular, you know, football, maybe. But you know, he was throwing the foot feints in there, some body feints. He was kind of styling a little bit to open the fight. You know, kind of showing a little disrespect for what Molina brings to the table as a fighter. But he did all of that, but he really wasn't scoring. You know, he wasn't really landing any shots. He really wasn't being consistent with his jab. He really wasn't having his way with Molina in any kind of meaningful way. But it built every round. You know, the feints eventually started. He started mixing the jab in a little bit, but again, never really got too consistent with the jab and really using it to score some points or to soften or open Molina up. It just was kind of a very inconsistent performance. Molina, like I said, as he got some timing together, got some distance together and whatnot in the second and third rounds, he started going to the body mostly. Molina, you know, he's not a fast guy. You know, he's been stopped. I think Molina's been stopped 7 times now. But he knows what he's doing in there to a degree. It just matters. It just comes down to, like, what is he going to do to try to actually win the fight versus just being a test for somebody. So once he found some success in going to the body, you know, he did press forward a little bit in the third, like I said, second, third, and fourth rounds. And then we get to the 5th round, and especially late in the third and in the fourth, Wardley started mixing it up a little bit more, landing some shots and finding a couple of openings here and there. But it seemed like maybe his game plan was to get the man off balance and land something big. But he was mainly trying to, like, do a lot with the little versus kind of overwhelming Molina. And maybe that was because he didn't want to make a mistake that Molina could capitalize on with him looking to counter him and whatnot. But anyway, I thought when we got to the knockout sequence early in the 5th round, I thought that was a pretty good trap that he set for Wardley, who was playing around a little bit, or just, like I said, kind of being inconsistent. And I thought that was a dope trap when that he set, you know, backing up a little bit and allowing Wardley to come into him, and then timing that right hand that affected him. I don't think that Wardley was really out of it. We did see his legs. He kind of split his legs a little wide, and then his lead foot landed and it buckled a little bit. It looked worse in real time, but when they showed it back on the replay and from the opposite angle, when they showed it from a couple different angles and whatnot, kind of looking at his face, it looked like he was kind of in control of everything, but he backed away to kind of regroup, got up against the ropes. I like that he clinched. You know, if he was hurt, he was like, let me break you, you know, let me break your momentum. Let me slow you down a little bit. Let me reset. Let me get myself together. He brought that right glove up to his chin to protect his chin, kept his upper body movement together, and dipped under a couple of shots and was doing some things. And then he started throwing, he threw a couple of wide left hooks. And then I think because as close as Molina was to him, he landed the right hand in there. That was a pretty good shot. And then he landed that left. It was a bit of an awkward left-handed shot that he couldn't really get it together because he was crowded. But it did snap Molina's head, and he came back with another right that went over the top. That kind of looked like it missed, or it was grazing at best. And then next thing you know, Molina was falling. He was falling down to the canvas and whatnot, and didn't get up. And then when he did get up, him and his team were complaining about being hit in the back of the head and kind of like motioning around like you could really let the fight continue when the fight was clearly over. But I thought it was a pretty decent fight altogether. All things considered, I think it's a good win for Wardley. Again, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a consistent approach to it. Get your jab together, work the body a little bit, set some things up, just like a normal fight. And it just seemed in this one, he was, like I said, kind of taunting him a little bit, or the swinging his hands all around, over exaggerating stuff, kind of maybe inviting Molina to do something for him to react to, or him to be able to counter or something. I don't really like when young guys get into that type of stuff versus just excuse me, applying your game plan. The commentator said that a couple of times, like he wasn't really having a great showing up until maybe in the late in the third or in the fourth, when he started asserting himself a little bit more. So it was okay. Excuse me. Let's get on to this main event so I can get on out of here. This heavyweight fight, this rematch. Not a lot to say. I threw that as a caveat in calling and picking predicting my winner. What was that, Friday? Throat dry, drinking some waters, they're not helping me out. Hey, I'm not smoking anything. I promise you. Nothing loud in here. I just thought if COVID didn't affect Povetkin, I was picking Povetkin to win the fight, and maybe even by stoppage. But I was really concerned about what I was seeing in the first round. I don't know what was going on with Povetkin's legs. I thought maybe he borrowed Deontay Wilder's ring, his costume on the way out there or whatever before they put the camera work on him. Like, I don't know what was wrong with dude's legs, but he looked very unstable. In the first round, to see the guy kind of just looking bad on his legs and his balance, everything looked off. We saw some of the wild swinging early on. And I thought Whyte's wild swinging, or some of the punches that he landed or hit off the gloves or whatever, I thought it had something to do with it, maybe. But you see a guy in the first round all up into the ropes, leaning back into the ropes like that, and the ropes helping to keep him up or stabilize him or whatever. I just kind of didn't know what the hell I was watching. And then it was just, Whyte is definitely not a stylistic boxer. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of skill there. It's not a beautiful thing to watch. The dude has said as much. Like, he's not really concerned about being the best boxer, the prettiest boxer. I thought he was a little smaller than the first fight. I thought it was he was a lot lighter than the first fight, but actually it was only like a 6-pound difference. But again, he just looks a little crude. It's nothing pretty, but he shows a lot of heart. He throws punches with bad intentions, the whole time that I'm sitting there, I'm like, this guy can't do anything with Deontay Wilder. I know that's something that Eddie threw out there in the future about wanting that fight. In the past, I have wanted to see that fight. I don't know what they can put together for Deontay Wilder at this point, but I would watch it if they would make it. And I think it makes good. I think it's good business for either one of those guys. I think in the big scheme of things, I think Dillian Whyte is in a bad situation from the perspective of here he was sitting here as a mandatory challenger for whatever it was, 570 days, 720 days, 6 years, whatever it was, where he was the mandatory, and it never happened. Even in getting this victory and then becoming this WBC interim champion, it doesn't line him up a fight, a championship fight next, or even in the next 2 or 3 fights, especially if things get worked out between age. If that ever gets finalized, we've already been told that that's a 2-fight thing. So nothing in the immediate future happens for Dillian Whyte moving forward. But there are pretty of like lateral fights for him I think that might just be the best that he can expect. But again, that lack of agility, the lack of footwork, not a lot of upper body movement, not really showing us that he's elusive whatsoever, not really being a great jabber or doing a whole lot of work with his jab. If he didn't change up his fighter, his approach to a fight significantly, I just don't see him being that much of a challenge for Deontay Wilder. That's just how I see that one. And then back to the fight, though. We get to the 5th round, and again, this man's been on roller skates since the fight started. So I thought it was good management of the fight and managing putting himself at risk in any way. We saw Povetkin try to go back to the left hand that got him the victory back in August, got him the knockout back in August. But most of the shots were wild. They weren't set up with anything. Whyte was a little more mindful of the left hand. And again, he's just sitting here watching this dude who's not looking good on his feet. He's being patient. He's attacking in a poised manner and landing big shots. Then we get into that 5th round, and he gets him out of there. I think the left hook for the finishing shot was it's highlight reel stuff. It was funny to watch him after the fight. Whyte says, "What's good, D-Lo boxing?" What did he say? It was somewhere in here. He said something about if I hit anybody in the world with this left hand, nobody can get up from that. And it's just him kind of talking his shit. And you got to do so in that moment. But sometimes what it is getting to that left hand. Like everything that you got to do to get to landing that left hand doesn't always work out as planned for him. That's kind of the problem. But just some quotes that he said was, I was so close, and then one lapse in concentration, and I made a mistake. Tonight, I was like, yo, I'm looking to beat some ass tonight. I was trying to get it done in the first round, but then I had to relax. Anybody on the planet that gets hit with that left hook, they're going down. Some of them might get up, but most will stay down. He was kind of badly hurt. Now I feel bad. I want him to go home to his family healthy. A lot of good sportsmanship. He went in, I don't know about grabbing the I don't know about grabbing the stool and carrying the stool over there and all of that extra shit. But I don't know, man. Sometimes the theatrics and some of this stuff, whatever, man. It's easy, I guess, when you're the victor, you do what you want to do. You write the history. And he takes the stool over there, like everybody that was trying to help Povetkin out, like they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And it was both teams congratulating one another, shaking hands and whatnot. The better fighter won, and yada yada yada. Whyte mentioned possibly doing a rematch. I don't know why they would do that, unless it was a good, unless they made the money right, and it's a small risk for him. But I don't know. I would think Povetkin should be done. Again, like I said, I don't know if it was COVID related, but whatever was going on with him, something didn't look right. And I'm also say this: I don't know if you looked at it, the replay after the knockdown. Dillian Whyte turned away and went to go walk off and kind of celebrate and entertain the crowd and whatever, and let out some elation and whatnot. He was walking with like a hitch in his step too. I don't know, it's like hamstring or Achilles or something, but he wasn't looking right either. And maybe I'm seeing shit, making something out of nothing. But again, it's just this robotic ass way that some of these dudes walk that's just different to me. But his legs didn't look all that great to me. And then the way that that stumble forward ass jab that he pokes out there, like he just doesn't look good. I don't know. Something just didn't look right with his legs either. Even after they gave him the belt and he was kind of walking around the ring, looked like he was dragging a leg or something, or I don't know. Maybe he was just celebrating, and maybe he was just emotionally he was a little spent or something, and maybe like I said, maybe I'm making something out of nothing, but he didn't look all that great on his legs either. But again, it just was a decent fight, man. Like I said, if you have the zone, you see these two heavyweights do their thing. The card was so. You see what Wardley can do. I don't think there was any need to rush that dude into anything anyway. He can just continue to be on these cards and put him in there again, the next best step up for him and see what happens. I have suffered with vertigo in the past, and even then my balance was better than bro. I don't really I don't really know what was going on there, but it didn't look right. I'm not all that familiar with vertigo, but I've heard people having it over the years. But yeah, it's just you hate when you watch fights, man, and it looks like something isn't that something is off. And I'm looking at like somebody in and this is the thing when you betting on fights and stuff, which I don't. But I hear some people talking betting stuff and details about betting and the different things that they factor in. But I have to think that the Povetkin camp, whatever sparring they had him going through over the last several weeks, like they had to have known that things didn't look right for their guy. And that's the cold part about boxing, similar with what I was saying earlier with Lipinets. Some of these guys go into Maurice Hooker, some of these guys go into these fights, man, and the odds are really stacked against them. They're not 100%. The promotion doesn't even want you to win. And you just get these tough ass assignments, and sometimes you just got to go in there and deal with whatever happens. And to see Povetkin get hit with that left hook, totally defenseless, that's a bad moment. That's a risky ass moment for him. But that's boxing. That's boxing. So again, I always kind of cringe, man, when I listen to some of these channels or I listen to some of the commentary, on these fights, and people get very disrespectful of the losers and just kind of don't take into consideration that how deadly a lot of these moments happen. And yeah, nothing happens. The dude gets up, he's able to stand there. And when they do the decision, they announce the official decision. The guy is able to congratulate the victor, and they do the hugging and talk and do whatever. That happens more times than not. But a lot of times, like, some very life-threatening stuff has transpired before that moment. And it just seems like, a lot of people get on these channels and on these podcasts and talk a lot of silly shit. And it's like, it's a really silly, it's a really serious game. And, the majority of us can't and don't do this stuff. Again, like, I go back to the Hooker fight. Again, like, that was not set up for Hooker to be successful. It was not set up for him to really have a shot at beating Virgil Ortiz. I mean, he was in there to make life better for Ortiz moving forward. Now, he has the opportunity to do everything to change that because, he's not fighting with one hand, although he didn't have both hands at the end of the fight. But you have every opportunity to go in there and pull out the victory and upset the apple cart, as they say, and change your own life. But the fact of the matter is, like, he was selected for a reason. Nobody gave a damn that was Maurice Hooker's first fight at 147 pounds. But then when I'm watching Maurice Hooker in the first round, I mean, he's in here looking like Bol from the NBA. He's this 5'10", 5'11" guy with like no mass to him. Like he could just blow away in the wind. And you sitting here fighting against a guy who's a pretty heavy-handed guy. A big time puncher to the body and all of that. And that's kind of the thing that Maurice Hooker doesn't have. He doesn't have anybody. He doesn't have any frame to him to sustain any of that. And you saw with every second. I mean, he just was losing ground in the fight and falling behind, and you just got to deal with it. But yeah, last night I really don't know what was going on with Povetkin. We got to assume the dude had a clean bill of health and whatnot. And that's that. Hey, look, man, I'll throw the phone line up there if anybody want to call in and holler at anything, talk about whatever's going on in boxing, whatever you're looking forward to, throughout April. I'm not trying to sit here and ramble on for no reason, and hold nobody up. I just wanted to come on, kind of talk through the fight, talk through the card, what we saw in Wardley, if he's ready to take a step forward. Like I said, I hit on a couple of things I had earlier with the super flyweight situation with Juan Francisco Estrada being elevated to franchise champ. It was real nice of the WBC to come in there and figure out a solution for everybody to move forward with the fight that they want to see. It's crazy in these other divisions. Things can happen and do happen, and decisions get made to move us along to the fights that we really want to see. But in some divisions, no help comes to, nothing comes into place to help us in some of the really marquee fights that we would like to see. They just sit there on the docket forever, with nothing happening. So I thought that was just an interesting situation for Mauricio Sulaiman to come in and save the day so that Estrada didn't have to fight Sorung Vasai. And then Sorung Vasai, his aspirations of being a world champion again aren't affected. He just has a different dude to fight. And that's a winnable fight for him. If he fights Carlos Cuadras, I believe is dude's first name, Carlos. But I thought that was real slick how that took care of itself. But again, like I said, in the other divisions, nothing is in place to make none of that shit get resolved for us to get the fights that we want to see. What else? That is really about it. Let me check to see if anything came up while I was on here. I saw where it's an article on Boxing Scene where WBC press Mauricio Sulaiman feels Povetkin was not physically ready after the long COVID battle. You think? Yeah, that was pretty obvious. Something else that I thought was on here. I thought there was one other story this week that caught my attention. I don't think Povetkin can really recover after Dylan. No shit. Damn, thought it was one other thing before I got on off of here. Folks, knockout. I'll talk on this for a minute. I heard, I thought it was pretty, going back to something that Crawford said. I thought that was, the comments that he made about facing, Virgil Ortiz, since that's where I just mentioned that, with him talking about him fighting, Mean Machine, possibly, Kavaliauskas. I don't think that's a bad fight for Virgil. Again, my whole interest in that fight, I do think it is a little too soon for Virgil Ortiz and Terrence Crawford. But I think also my main thing is, like, if the fight can get made, I mean, again, it's not like Virgil Ortiz doesn't bring, it's not like that he's not bringing an audience with him. There's a lot of buzz around him. I think some of it might even be artificial. Obviously he's a Mexican. They have their fighters that they want to support. They do support their fighters. Typically, a whole country gets involved with rooting for this Mexican. He's one of the few Mexicans at welterweight that seems to have the goods. So, like, I'm not knocking anybody for it. I'm just saying, if there is a significant fan base there, if Golden Boy and Top Rank could get together and work out the business side of it, and they do it, I mean, they do it. I do think that Virgil fights in a manner, because he's pretty fundamentally sound. I think with a different approach to it, like he said, he recognized that his punches to Maurice Hooker's head, the dude had a better chin than he expected. So he said, he wasted some time working, headhunting a little bit early on, and then he switched down to the body, and that's when the complexion of the fight changed, and things started to happen better for him. So, that was a bit of a learning experience for him. But I think with him, the way that he uses his jab, it's a power jab. I think he would need to employ a little bit more of a wait and see kind of fight against Crawford, who is obviously doing a lot of fights. He's reading what the other person is doing and picking up on things and looking at ways to counter all of that or neutralize all of that. He's not a volume puncher or anything. I don't really know if that's a fight where, Ortiz really gets ruined, for future fights. I'm looking at somebody like David Benavidez who makes it into the later rounds against Bud. I'm looking at what Kavaliauskas was able to do. What did that end in the seventh round or something? I don't know if Ortiz really gets, like I said, seriously hurt. He gets mangled. Yeah, you might lose the fight and it might end badly, but I wasn't mad at the stool. And also when he said they could run it back, I think he knows not too much. Yeah, bro. That's it. Like, in the big scheme of things, like there's like I said, there's only lateral moves available out there for the funny thing about the stool was that he was holding the stool with his glove on. Like, why don't they always cut the gloves off on the cats in the UK after the fights? Like, these dudes look stupid as hell going over to that microphone and trying to adjust the microphone with these oven mitts on. Like, I mean, it's nothing all that serious, but I just don't understand why they don't cut these guys' gloves off and they got them walking around the arena trying to do shit when they could, have the gloves off of them and allow them to have the use of their hands. That's all I was saying. So to see him walking over there with the stool, carrying the stool with the gloves on, just looks stupid as hell to me. But again, I mean, the good sportsmanship, I don't have a problem with that. I saw the video with back in the back room where Whyte went to Povetkin's locker room and whatnot. They had exchanged some more words and thanked each other and saluted each other as gladiators and whatnot. I don't have a problem with it. I think all of that is good. I think obviously they do their job when they're in the ring, when they're supposed to be trying to kill one another. Neither one of them pulls any punches on one another, during the when they're supposed to be fighting. So I'm all for going back there and showing some class, showing some concern for the other man's the opponent's well-being and all of that. I think that's a good look for boxing. So shout out to him on that. It was just shades of Tyson rubbing blood or Vaseline or whatever off of Lennox Lewis's for his brow back in the day. Like, after somebody has whipped your ass, you can act civil and be deferential to the other guy or whatever. It just reminded me of all of that. But it was what it was, man. I mean, I thought the little crowd that they had gathered there, I thought it added to the excitement of the moment. All in all, I think the whole thing with the fight being in Gibraltar, I think the relationship between the two, just the two fighters, I thought it was, all in all, I thought it was good TV. And then it ended in emphatic fashion with the knockout. So I didn't have a problem with the whole thing. But getting back to this Crawford comment, while everybody was on him for one thing, I didn't hear many people talking about, I thought it was some good advice for Virgil Ortiz and Golden Boy with, maybe you should take a fight against a guy like Aegis Kavaliauskas, being there with a bigger puncher, being there with a guy who can back him up a little bit. Being there with a guy who won't react to body shots the way that Maurice Hooker did. I thought that was pretty good advice in all honesty, for Crawford to say some things to Golden Boy. And Golden Boy knows this. They know all of this stuff. They know the likelihood of Virgil being able to compete with Crawford. But like I said, if the fight can be put together, I think it could be. It's always, I saw some comments this week. I saw some people on Facebook and in different forums speaking, favorably on Virgil Ortiz's chances against Crawford. I was like, damn, am I watching the same kid? Did I see the same guy? I mean, you really see it like that? And that's when that nationality, that ethnicity, that's when all of that type of shit comes into play. And the promoters can play on that shit. You can sell a fight based on that shit. Especially if that type of if those types of sentiments are overwhelmingly out there in the public domain and whatnot. If that's what you see the majority of the people, then hell, we can move forward with the fight then. We got this large amount of people who they kind of don't know what we know as the people organizing this shit. We can sell this shit. He told on Sirius XM with Barack and with Ak and Barack, he said, and I think, he need to take a couple of more fights with different caliber of fighters. You got to think Hooker only had one fight, one round at welterweight. He just moved up, you know what I mean? So he wasn't really a full welterweight yet. Yeah, he got the height for welterweight, but he wasn't a full welterweight yet. What else did he say? He comes back and says, because Mo, he can punch, and you've seen, I seen him having success. Somebody taking Ortiz in the deep waters, being that he's never been past, the 7th or 8th round, so there's a lot of questions to be asked. I think these are all very fair statements. And I don't think it's a bad deal for Ortiz. What the hell is that? I don't think it was bad for Ortiz to it would be bad for him to see a couple of different more styles and have some good crowds. Things look good on TV and whatnot. I don't think it'd be bad for him to get another couple of fights, build on his draw, have some exciting endings. Again, to see the fans responding to him like that at Dickey's Arena a couple weeks ago or whatever it was last weekend. Again, until you can get that good look on, until you can get that big fight, I think all you can do is work on your profile and work on your business. And to be honest, I just think he's in a position because of him being Mexican, because of some of what we've seen in the ring. I think all of that can be very favorable for him, that can be built on, and that they shouldn't rush through that. That's how I see it. That's about it. Since nobody wanted to call in, which is cool. I just was trying to chop it up with anybody that wanted to talk some boxing. So I was going to open up the phone line. But everybody got on out of here. I'm going to follow suit and get on out of here as well. We're getting ready to get back to it.
Boom. Jab, left hook, right hand, short one, short piece. That's probably my best right hand knockout of my career. Short one. Boom. Yep. And then this one is the one that sent him and he was way home. Boom. No one can take that punch from me and stand up. No one. Anyone that hit with the left hook must go down. They might get back up sometimes, but they will go down.
It's just funny listening to some of the UK brothers talk trash sometimes. It's a different, it's got a different vibe to it. Not even trying to be funny, man. It's different that's what I like about boxing too, the international aspect of it, to see how other cultures and other countries do what they do and talk their trash. It's just funny.
Redmond just appeared on the forehead of
He's got him again.
Right hand.
And again. And he wobbles again. Little left hand gets him on the floor. White makes the breakthrough in the 4th round, just as he did back in the summer. But he's all over the place, and Victor Lufkin says that'll do it. He gets his redemption. He gets his revenge. He gets his reward. Dillian Whyte back in business.
That was the audio, obviously, from the fight last night. I meant to open the show with that. I need to write some notes down as I jump into this stuff, but that's about it, man. Let me get on out of here for the rest of the day. Get ready for some NCAA basketball. It's crazy, man. I haven't been following the brackets that closely. I have not even seen, I don't think I've seen Gonzaga play one time this year. Not one time. That's kind of crazy. So, but I know I got Michigan today at 5:00 against Florida State. I'm a little nervous about that one, to be honest, especially if Livers isn't back out there. I haven't really checked into Livers' status just yet. I'm kind of planning for the worst, so that's why I really wasn't too big on confirming whether he was going to be out there or not. But yeah, this tournament isn't like any other. When it's being shown, how it's being presented, everything is just different. All of the teams, located in Indianapolis and whatnot, or Indiana. It's just a little weird. So I'm just kind of, again, sometimes it's just cool to just sit back and watch. But anyway, I'm getting ready to get on off of here and check that out. I appreciate everybody who did jump into the comment section and say something. That's about it, man. Bite down, boxing. Don't let them count you out. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Good stuff coming up next week. Say ESPN over in Dubai. WBO super featherweight title fight. with Jamel Herring and Carl Frampton. I ain't look at the undercard on there, other than, like I said, Keyshawn Davis. I don't know if you checked out that the USA boxing stuff yesterday that you had to go online to watch. I had some other stuff that was going on, so I didn't get to check it out. But I saw a couple of people talking about it. You know, I missed it. Anyway, man, pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.